can use to win more games. If you can stick with me for 10 minutes, you will learn how to extract elo from your opponents with this aggressive gambit. Let's talk about the individual missions of your pieces. First of all, these 3 pawns. They want to conquer the center. More specifically, this pawn is going to advance to d4. In an ideal world, you want to play e4 next to take over the entire center. But most times they will go d5, making e4 a bad move. But you can play c4, the queen's gambit. You're attacking the center and they have 2 options. Most people decide to defend this pawn. But some people decide to take. Awesome. Now you can go e4. Congratulations. The center is now your private property. Black has literally 0 development and you're going to win this pawn back. But in lower elo, you will 100% encounter goofballs who try to defend the pawn. In that case, rejoice, you're going to win this. Go here, attacking the defense. Now they will likely push this or this pawn to defend it again. Either way, you will take their pawn. Let's say they go here. Now you take and they can't recapture unless they want to lose their rook. It's just bad. Let's say they pushed the other pawn, you take again. Now you can develop your knight to c3. Sometimes they accidentally go here. Remember that you can capture this pawn because their pawn is practically pinned. But even if they don't make a mistake, they will have the lifelong struggle of defending this useless pawn. Meanwhile you just develop your pieces, not even thinking about the pawn. Let's talk about the rest of your pieces. But let's go back to this position because most people actually don't take your pawn. They defend it. If they defend it with the knight, simply capture, they recapture and boom, you have achieved unmatched superiority. Most commonly though, people will play e6 to defend the pawn. You've entered the queen's gambit declined. There are a bunch of different variations, but I promise I've packaged it in very simple missions for you. Put your knight on c3, always. You're adding additional pressure to the d5 pawn. Now your bishop, it wants to go here or here. Ideally, you wait for your opponent to play knight f6 and you can develop the bishop by pinning the knight, the e pawn. The pawn is waiting for your bishop to be played so you can go e3 without getting stuck. This move because black wants to make room for the bishop. Your bishop is still waiting and you're running out of moves to make. But in this scenario, you have green light to just take on d5. They take back and if they develop their bishop to b7 now, it will just be stuck again. Meanwhile your bishop can finally go to d3, which is an amazing spot, especially compared to this. Finally the last thing, your castle. After this we will look at an example game. If you're high rated, you castle king side. If you're low elo, castling queen side is actually much more straightforward and simple to play. Because now you can position the rooks like this and aggressively push your pawns. The best defense is a relentless attack. As long as your opponent is just reacting to your attack, you're not in danger. You will see what I mean in the example game. But first let me summarize the missions for you. d4, d5, c4. They'll likely go e3, declining the gambit. Now you go through your minor pieces from left to right. First of all the knight, it wants to go here. The bishop wants to be developed by pinning this knight. And then you can quickly push e3 because your bishop is already out. Now black makes a move and next up is your other bishop. If they take on c4 at any point, you can develop your bishop by taking the pawn. If they haven't captured it, just move on to your knight for now. Put it on f3. Your queen. It can go here. If they want to develop their bishop to b7 because it's stuck behind the knight and pawn, you can just take on d5, they take back and you finally develop your bishop. Now their bishop is stuck and yours is in the perfect spot. Queenside castle and push your pawns with the support of your rooks. But what if they don't play these exact moves? Let's look at this example game that actually shows a completely different order of development. d4, d5, c4, they decline the gambit and you develop your knight. And now they go here. This is called the Slav defense, but instead of studying a whole new variation, you can just play by the missions. So look at your pieces from left to right. Next up is your bishop. I told you to use your bishop to pin the knight. But there's no knight to be pinned. So let's move on to the next piece. This bishop. I told you to wait for them to capture on c4 so you can develop the bishop by recapturing. But not only did they not capture yet, your bishop is also blocked. So let's move on. The knight. It simply goes here. Now black plays knight f6. This bishop can now be developed by pinning the knight. Black unpins the knight. And now white plays e3 without blocking the bishop. Black develops a knight. For white, only the bishop is left for development. But it can't capture on c4 right now, so we'll leave it here for a second and play queen c2 instead. Black attacks the bishop, so white drops it back. Quick castle, and now it's white's turn again. This bishop is still just sitting around, waiting for the c4 pawn to be captured. But white takes the initiative, capturing on d5. Black recaptures and white can finally put the bishop on d3. Now b6. And this is where the really interesting part begins. Queenside castle. Bishop b7, nice soft block by the way nerd. And now rook g1. The engine score right here is -1.6, but the engine doesn't know that this position has a 57% win rate for white and below 2000 elo, because it's so straightforward to play. I'll show you how to win this. Black goes rook c8, and now white makes one of the very few defensive moves, which is king b1 to avoid any future shenanigans with the rook on the semi-open file. Bishop b4, white is being attacked. Now what have I told you is the best defense? Correct, attack is the best form of defense. Push your pawns. Black stacks up his pieces for a big attack. And you keep pushing your pawns. Now the knight is under attack. Black could move the knight here, but then the pawn can take on h6 and black can't take back because the rook is pinning the pawn. So instead, black takes the pawn. The bishop takes back. The situation is getting tense on the king side. But black is thinking about the queen side. He takes the knight. Oh no, you're being attacked again. You better defend yourself by attacking. The pawn is still pinned and now under double attack, but only defended one time. If you take the pawn with any piece, the king will be in massive danger. So black makes a decision to push the pawn. And if you think that you should capture the rook now, you don't quite get it. The whole point of this entire strategy is to have your pieces attacking the king, who is trapped in a small space. So instead of taking the rook, white swooshes the bishop into the pawn structure. Now you have two menacing bishops, and a rook, a queen and a knight as backup. At this point every move might lead to checkmate, like if black would take here, then white can recapture followed by checkmate in one. But the player actually sees this threat and plays king h8 instead. White takes the bishop on the queen side and black immediately launches the queen into the pawn. White recaptures, black recaptures. Oh no, your king is in an open position. This is dangerous. If I only knew what the best form of defense was. Ah yes, how silly of me, of course attacking black does. The rook will go here. The knight captures, and the other rook recaptures, checkmate. This is your game plan. If you want an opening for the black pieces too, maybe check out this easy to watch tier